r/AskReddit, who is an actor that when they left a television show, the show got worse? I'm not a fan of 2.5 Men at all, but I was watching random episodes with my sister and the ones after Charlie died were definitely boring and dull compared to the earlier ones. I don't think there will be the likes of another Charlie Sheen 2.5 Men for a long time, if ever. The theme song always made me giggle. Check back soon for The Witcher and Henry Cavill. Totally. Honestly was wondering how far I would have to scroll to see this. 8 Simple Rules would have ran for years, fucking loved that show, rip John Ritter. And Big Bang Theory would have been very different if Penny was a different actress because Kaylee Cuoco was still in 8 Simple Rules. He had so much left to do. Such a shame he passed when he did. Kim Cattrall Sex and the City franchise. And just like it needs Samantha Jones. AJLT is unwatchable. No idea how it got renewed. I didn't like that 70s show when Eric left. Steve Carell, The Office. I'd say some of the worst of The Office is when Andy is boss. Out of the characters, the person who could have been boss and was probably the most qualified was Jim, but his character was written to not want that boss job. Besides, the already mentioned, Rick in TWD, Supernatural when Crowley left. Crowley really added a sick type of comedy that it made it an entirely different show. Just the 3 guys, referring to Castile as the third, it was usually more of a Three Stooges / Scooby-Doo show, while Crawley gave them a very well-defined mission / goal / blackmail. Vegas. TWD lost all its heart when they got rid of Stephen Yeun LOL. Just commented Mark Shepard. Emmy Rossum leaving Shameless. I second this. Also, I will never forgive the writers not having her ex Jimmy on the plane with her when she finally left. Those two deserved each other emo. I did find it interesting though to explore what their life was without her, and the fact they made it pretty clear with the extra season that no, she wasn't coming back. The season wasn't as enjoyable, but somehow, still worth it. I'd be game for a revival reunion in 30 years though, when they're all Frank's age. He was the one against the raping. Lisa Edelstein, House MD. Topher Grace, That 70s Show. Rupert Penry Jones, Spooks. I always wondered what happened with Edelstein and House. She didn't even come back for the finale. Given the context of the episode it would have made sense. Sad moment in Spooks after Rupert's character died and the boss went to see his kid play football and obviously the kid knew then. Travis Fimmel leaving Vikings. I still finished the show but it wasn't quite the same without Ragnar. Bjorn was cool as hell though. He was literally the heart and focus of the entire show. It's weird to try and carry on without him, though the character does die in real life so they had to. Followed closely by Lagertha. Show wasn't the same without either of them. Lenny Briscoe from Law and Amp, Order. Yeah, Lemire really tied that show together. The cold open was never the same after Jerry left. Other actors tried and failed to recreate the throwaway line. When William Peterson, Gil Grissom, left CSI. I think it could have been fine if they didn't try to replace him with Randy. The ensemble was large enough to just carry on. One of the first examples of ops question I saw as a kid. Didn't understand why the show had changed so much, but even I noticed something was off. Billions suffered a lot once Damian Lewis left the show. Facts. But Damian's wife died, so he needed time away IIRC. Suzanne Summers, Three's Company. Troy from Community. And Shirley, too. It's remarkable how Community perfected the chemistry of its relatively large ensemble cast from day one. No characters that were quietly dropped way early on, and none who the audience particularly hated. I have a sneaky suspicion The Witcher will suffer this fate. No sneaking suspicion, more like, well, duh. Obviously, destined to suck. The Witcher could probably at this point be renamed, The Series. Michael J. Fox, Spin City. I can't believe what a loathsome group of people were cast in that show. Respect to Topher for quitting and distancing himself from the rest. That one was brutal because there was a lot of media coverage of why he was leaving. And it just kind of sucked all the air out of the room for the show moving forward. Kinda counts, but Jon Stewart leaving The Daily Show. Only John Oliver could have carried the show after Jon Stewart left the first time. But Oliver is better served only doing one show a week instead of 5. I always remember that being the main reason established comics didn't want to be David Letterman's replacement on late night when he left NBC for CBS. They believed 5 nightly shows eventually drained your creativity. It's far from being the only thing that made the show start sucking, but Game of Thrones was objectively worse without Charles Dance in it. Few people know this, but it was actually Charles Dance's glare that kept D and Amp D in line. Yeah, he was a brilliant character that drove so much of the show. Cersei couldn't take his place. I feel like all of the serious leaders in the show died, leaving behind inferior leaders to continue playing the game. Ditto Olena Tyrell. Law and Order, SVU wasn't quite as good when Christopher Meloni left. I feel SVU also lost quality because they stopped making it a police procedural and started getting into a weekly drama. Constantly into their personal lives, etc. Criminal Minds was a little less good without Mandy Patinkin. Everything in the world was worse when we lost Phil Hartman, and that includes news radio. No disrespect to John Lovitz, but damn. Everything is a little less good without Mandy Patinkin. Dick York leaving Bewitched is the ugh of these. When they replaced Aunt Viv in Fresh Prince, totally changed the vibe of the character to the detriment of the show. Yeah, the original Viv had a spine and personality. The replacement was just another generic TV mom. Agree 100%. David Duchovny and the X-Files. It's been a long time, but I remember his last season being the weakest of the original lot. I thought his leaving, and Scully becoming the believer butting heads with skeptics, plus Robert Patrick just being brilliant, was a shot of adrenaline that the show needed. I'm not knocking Duchovny, he was iconic and the show wasn't the same without him, but I don't think it got worse necessarily after he left, as his last season was the lowest point imo. Nina Dobrev, Vampire Diaries. Oh, also Criminal Minds when Aaron Hotchner left. Also Criminal Minds when Gideon left. I love Mandy Patinkin. John Lovitz would agree with you, I think. As I understand it, he loved Phil Hartman. RDA and Michael Shanks in Stargate SG-1. I liked Cam though, he was a nice addition, and whilst I adored Claudia Black in Farscape, her character wasn't the best addition to SG-1. Wasn't fussed on the Shanks replacement whose name escapes me. And GT, Shanks replacement. Corin Nemec. Seemed like the writers didn't really know what to do with him. That one episode where TLC hallucinates he's a fireman, Nemec's character is pretty much reduced to a sight gag. NCIS, Abby, Gibbs, Ziva, and Tony. When each left, it took a chunk of the show's soul with it. Palmer and Tim are the only bit of the show's foundation still left. And Duckhead. Mark Shepard, Supernatural. Steve from Blue's Clues. Don Knotts, from The Andy Griffith Show. Refused to watch One with Barn. Even Andy got bitchier after that. Barney was the man. Not an actor but the head writer of The Simpsons and Conan O'Brien. Law and Order, Criminal Intent was by far my favorite until Vincent D'Onofrio, I can't remember how to spell it, left. I just lost interest. His death started the slow decline of The Simpsons. The Tonight Show after Conan O'Brien was pushed out by Leno. He was actually doing a much better job than Leno was, and he got screwed, as did the viewers. Suits when Mike Ross left. Fun fact: Adams wanted to leave after the first/second season, I can't remember which one, because he wanted to do theater projects. Rick, Sarah, and Megan all had an intervention, so to speak, to get him to stay, which he obviously did. My favorite part of that show is that as it went on, they had more and more convoluted reasons to not have an office full of extras. It was so fucking strange when season 8 opens at Mike and Rachel's wedding and they're not even there. Rob Morrow, Northern Exposure. Currently rewatching. That show was so good in its prime. The Walking Dead after Stephen Yeun, Glenn, left. The story was just so boring. Problem is that after the initial outbreak, zombies just aren't that interesting. Something with the tone of Zombieland would have worked better, which is why Z Nation was 20x better for a fraction of the budget, but TWD had no end goal and was perpetually afraid of changing up the formula. There's only so many "this is who we are now" / "this is not who we are" speeches you can take. Rick from The Walking Dead. Simpsons. Rick and Carl were the heart of the show, and I just had zero interest in continuing with them being gone. I eventually went back and rewatched S9 and AMP10, and the show actually got better than the preceding couple seasons because they changed showrunners and actually had to write interesting moments for other characters, but it certainly never returned to its heights, which were seasons 4 to 5 imo. I have to agree with you on this one.
Hey guys, it's Reddit Glitch. Thanks for watching to the end of the video. I just wanted to ask you guys to hit the subscribe button because according to my statistics, 98.8% of my viewers are not subscribed, which I think you should subscribe because it's free, and we're going to have a lot more bangers in the future, so subscribe. Again, thanks for watching. Bye.